Thank you for tuning in to the Malpass Brothers radio special, an hour of stories and songs from their highly anticipated record, Lonely Street, due out this May. Your host for this evening is radio and television personality Keith Bilbrey, formerly of WSM Radio and the Grand Ole Opry. Now, let's welcome Chris and Taylor, the Malpass Brothers, and Keith Bilbrey.
We're talking with the pride of Goldsboro, North Carolina, and, to me, the pride of country music, the Malpass Brothers.
Oh, I appreciate that, Mr. Keith.
Y'all get a lot of flack over your accent, don't
Oh,
you?
my gosh. Yeah. We don't notice it.
I don't notice it. I'm a country boy.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what. Yeah, well, we're from North Carolina, Goldsboro, and it's just it's the way we talk. People say, do y'all really talk like that? I said, we wouldn't make this up.
How could you imitate this?
How could you imitate this?
Yeah. Well, Chris, you by and large do the singing, and Taylor sings some too, and is a great singer, but he does harmony, and for folks who've never seen you. And you play a pretty mean guitar, don't you, Taylor?
I don't know about that.
Yes, you do.
Just trying to keep up.
And mandolin.
Yes, sir.
You've been playing mandolin since you were 10 years old. Well, you guys, as you mentioned, started very early. Chris, when did you start?
I was really about 7 years old when I started. My grandfather, my dad's dad, ran a little honky-tonk, and he played and sang, and he taught me a few chords, and I would learn all the songs off the old console record player that Grandma and Granddaddy had, Porter and Roy Acuff, and
He still got it.
still got that record player.
That's great.
And I completely became in love with that music, and I knew from being around my peers there was, this would have been in the 90s, that there was modern new country music, but it didn't sound like that.
That's right.
And it was an immediate love. And I never
Who
looked back.
really set your dreams on fire back then?
I'll tell you, the first record I remember really diving into, it was Charlie Pride, and the name of it's Charlie Pride's 10th album is the name of the album.
I remember
It's
that
got
album.
Able-Bodied Man on it and all that stuff. And man, I still got that album. I wore the vinyl off that album.
Wow.
Every day. And then I'd come home from school and go straight to my room, put on another record of Merle Haggard, Gene Watson, Lou Brothers, whatever. I mean, every day.
Wow. Obviously, the Louvin Brothers' influence is so alive in your music.
Well, we could relate to them because we were brothers from the South, doing the churches, and it was just an instant love. We loved their music. Kind of felt like you knew them.
Yeah.
And went through a lot of the same struggles trying to make it into business. We weren't bluegrass. We weren't country. Same way with the Louvins. They were right in that middle. They had a mandolin, so they classified them as bluegrass, but they had electric guitar, so they were country.
Yeah.
And,
they kind of rode the line, didn't
so we just stuck to our guns, what we loved, and it paid off. But the Louvins were a heavy influence. Taylor's a huge Ira Louvin fan, and I'm a huge I love Charlie singing. I really do.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the best singers. I mean, very overlooked.
Taylor, he says Charlie Pride was the one that really flipped his switch. What about you?
Well, as he was saying how he did with records, I would come home. I was the same way with Ernest Tubb.
Oh, yeah.
And I would come home and I'd get my guitar, because I was learning. I started playing guitar when I was about 13 when I started playing lead, and I would go in and I'd sit in front of the record player, play Ernest Tubb, and I'd play along with him, trying to learn it, and that was really what got me going. I mean, I think, to me, even today, I think he had the best band of all time.
Oh, I worked with Ernest for a number of years, and the band always amazed me. They just never ceased to surprise me with tried and true licks, and then they'd change it around a little bit. I guess they got tired of playing it the same way, so they tried to play it.
That's an art that's you don't hear anymore.
No.
Used to, when the band, who the singer
You
was
knew
from the
every
band.
member. Yeah.
And you talking about records, I remember when I first heard my first Merle Haggard record, I was about 8, and Granddaddy had the Mama Tried album where he's got on the prison outfit on the front. Man, you talk about a singer. Mm. When I heard him, that was the moment. I said, "This is how I want to sing."
Yeah,
which I never will be able to. But heck, that was the that was the Malpass. I was like, man, this is the singer.
Well, you do perfect justice to
Oh,
Merle
you're
Haggard's
kind.
song. Hey, while we're talking about memories, there's a cut on the album. By the way, the new album is Lonely Street. And, of course, your new single, Sleep When the Party's Over. We're talking about memories, and you've got a song on there that just describes what you guys have been saying in, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. It's called Road of Memories. Tell me about that song.
Well, we got together, and I wrote that with Chaz and Phil Johnson, and they brought the song in the studio, and he said, I've got this idea for a song. And I think he had maybe a piece of a verse and a little bit of a chorus. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, man, this could tell our story. And so it mentions our grandfather in it, and first hearing the songs of Haggard, and and then talking about the Vietnam veteran, and it's everything that I love, and it's just. I don't know any other way to write a song than if you don't feel it. And I've wrote some songs with people that are probably good songs, but if you don't feel it, it's pointless.
Exactly.
And it just really spoke to Taylor and I both.
Well, let's get on the bus and go down that road of memories with the Malpass brothers.
Down the road of memories, yesterday comes back to me. Mom and Dad were so much younger, and I was filled with teenage dreams. My grandpa, he was my hero. He taught me how to pick and sing. I first heard the songs of Haggard coming from his guitar strings. Down the road of memory, on the day they took my uncle and put a rifle in his hand, shipped him off one cold November to fight a war in Vietnam. He stood proud the day he left us, but he lay still when they brought him back home. We still ride in his beat-up Chevy, 'cause there are days when he comes back to me. Down the road of memories, as long as there are pictures and frames, though they're gone, they'll always remain. Empty rooms and empty spaces were ones I loved used to be. Still they live not too far from me, down the road of memories.
Well, I sure enjoyed that trip with you guys. The Road of Memories by the Malpass Brothers. And, it's so similar to my upbringing. I'm sure a lot of our listeners. My grandfather taught me how to pick and sing. He played the banjo. He wrote music. And, boy, when he died, I was crushed. I was 10 years old. I remember it like yesterday. And I'm betting that a lot of folks listening out there have that similar experience. And to me, that's what touches my heart about your music.
Well, thank you. Well, the thing about country music, to me, real country music is emotion. Mm-hmm. And I don't hear a lot of that anymore. And I miss that. And I just want people to feel something. And if I'm sad, I want them to be sad when I'm telling them about it. If I'm happy, I want them to be happy. And so we just relay how we're feeling at the moment.
Yeah. I can't remember the song that it's in, but you've got a song on there that's got the line. I remember it so clear. He says, you said, if you don't feel it when they sing, I saw the light.
Yeah, that's the truth. And that's a song we wrote. It's sort of a throwback to the Leuven style, and That'll Be the Day is the name of that one. And that's true, man. Yeah. Those old songs. If you don't get something out of it, if they don't light your fire, your wood's wet. What the preacher would say.
Taylor, would you agree with that?
Oh Lord, yes. It goes back to, as we were saying, did you feel like you know these guys? There's so many people that we've listened to through the years, that we grew up listening to, and you feel like you know them. You feel like they're family. Mm-hmm. And I'm especially like that with Ira Leuven.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, gosh. If somebody talks bad about him, I get mad.
There's a couple of songs on this album where it's almost like Ira's come back to see us, and it's Taylor Malpass singing.
Wow.
And it's just amazing, that high harmony that Ira was known for. And I think you got it down, Taylor. Let me ask you about Leon Rhodes. You mentioned Ernest Tubb, of course, the Texas Troubadours. Leon was that lead singer. Oh, Leon now. Leon was a huge influence on you, wasn't he, Taylor?
Oh, Lord, yes. Him and Jimmy Capps were my idols.
Yeah.
I never got to meet Leon. I knew Jimmy very well. Me and him talked at least once a week.
Yeah.
But Leon, like I say, I'd sit in there, and I grew up listening to him. Him and Billy Bird, they were like, to me, they hung the moon.
Oh, yeah. Well, they were so expressive, and they were so much a part of the Ernest Tubb sound. It was unique.
Yes, sir.
They could play without Ernest, and you thought of Ernest Tubb.
Oh,
because they were such a part of the sound.
A funny thing you was talking about, that you think that Chris was saying that you hear them play and you know who it is.
Yeah, and of course, Chris, you have the world famous Malpass hair.
It's good hair.
You don't need no hat covering up that hair.
I just I've always been an old soul. I love that style back then. People don't even comb their hair no more.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, go out every day dressed in pajama pants and don't comb their hair. Used to, when you go on stage, you really want to, look like you're happy to be there, and you want to impress the people. So it was just part of it to me, and I love that style. So I just adopted it, and it's so used to it now, it just wakes up this way.
Well, I've had so many people over the years that you guys have been around say, I wonder how long it takes him to fix his hair.
That's funny. What? People ask me
so
that.
So let's just get it out right now. How long does it take you to fix that hair?
It don't take but a minute. I get out and I comb it back, blow dry it, and spray it. and there, it looks like Willie Nelson's bus with all the fog in there after I get done with all that hairspray.
And then you go out and the wind's blowing and it's all over.
We was on the road about a month ago.
Oh, this is funny.
And that hairspray he uses, it stinks. It'll give me a headache. Well, we're riding down the road, and I said, Chris, how much hairspray do you use? I said, you smell terrible. I don't know, but it is. I smell it too.
Tell him the car was fogged.
And then by that time, it started fogging up. I said, what in the world? His hairspray had went off in his bag.
Oh, no!
It was so bad that when we got out, the bag was dripping.
That car filled up with hairspray. We were opening doors.
Oh.
You can't make this stuff up to happen.
I'm telling you. Well, Taylor, you know, all this that you're going through is just paying for the dream.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
And you got a song about paying for the dream.
We do, and that song is one that, I'll tell you how that song was wrote. We broke down. The song tells a story. We broke down in Atlanta, and a friend of ours by the name of Dewey Brown came to pick us up, who's a musician. And I was mad, boy, the bus had messed up, and we was out the money, and you know how it is. You just ain't never going to make it.
On Halloween.
On Halloween night. This is the truth. And
well, you can always go trick-or-treat.
Yeah, I always go trick-or-treat.
Christopher said, "What'd you do if Michael Myers come out of the woods?" I said, "I'd let him kill me."
Yeah, we'd welcome him on.
Come on.
It all that really happened, and I got mad when Dewey picked us up. I went to the back of the bus and laid on the floor. He picked us up on his bus with a guitar, and that song really, literally, it came to me about 5 minutes, and it was just all pure honesty of how we felt at the moment.
Well, it doesn't get any more real than this. Listen, folks, from the album Lonely Street, here's the Malpass Brothers and Paying for the Dream.
Stranded near Atlanta, by the side of the highway. Our dreams have gone from being stars to trying to make it home. A run back out to Texas had put us on a high note, but our old ego with the breakdown left us on the low. With the future looking dark and the present mighty dim, I grabbed up the telephone, called myself a friend. Another guitar picker who had shared our broken dreams came out to the rescue, where he said these words to me: paying for the dream, $1 at a time. We all need the music like a drunk man needs wine. It's nothing but addiction when the thirst outweighs the cost. But you can't see what you're gaining, hanging on to what you've lost. We don't swing no hammers, and we don't work on cars. We all make our living playing church and fairs and bars. But don't let all this fool you. It ain't no easy life. Costs a whole lot of heartache, money, stress, and wives. Paying for the dream, $1 at a time. We all need the music like a drunk man needs a wine. And it's nothing but addiction when the thirst outweighs the cost. But you can't see what you're gaining, hanging on to what you've lost. Yeah, we're paying for the dream, $1 at a time. We all need the music like a drunk man needs a wine. And it's nothing but addiction when the thirst outweighs the cost. But you can't see what you're gaining, hanging on to what you lost. Man, we gotta get to Dallas.
Well, we're only running on 7 cylinders.
We can make it on 7, that ain't never stopped us before.
That's a good point. You got your Jerry Reed Greatest Hits album?
Yeah, and I got my tools. Let me crawl up under this joker, see if we can make it.
We should be there by nightfall.
Man, just paying for the dream. It might be more than $1 at a time.
Maybe 10 grand at the time. Hey, Chris, get my phone. I'm going to call Tim Dillman.
See if he can get his eagle back in the air.
He didn't answer. He's usually up by now.
It's 3 a.m.
And you do pay for the dream.
Yes, sir,
Believe it or
you
not.
do.
Now, you've had, as we're doing this interview, you've had some more bus trouble, right?
We have. We had an Eagle bus, and It used to be Barbara Mandrell's bus, a beautiful bus.
Oh, yeah, I've been on that
But
bus.
it just, being an older bus, it was just time to update. So we're in the process right now of getting not a new bus, but a newer bus. And it's a really beautiful bus. We're painting it like the Super Chief, like Merle's, in tribute to him. And it's got Ernest on it, too.
Yeah.
So we're excited about it.
Well, you have to interject here that one of the things about you paying for the Dream is the fact that you're both mechanics.
Boy, yeah.
That's your background.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
There's a pair of greasy overalls on every bus we have.
There you go. Now, Chris, you did transmissions, right?
I did.
The great mystery of all cars, the transmission.
I did that. I started when I was about 18 years old, a place called Jennings Transmissions in Goldsboro. And even while we were working with Don and Merle and all that, when I was off the road, I was in the shop working, when I wasn't touring. Did it for years and years, and Taylor farmed and did mechanic work too. We've done a little bit of everything.
What was your specialty,
I
Taylor?
started working in tobacco when I was 14. And I worked in tobacco and worked on tractors and mess like that until 2017, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Then I got married. I moved to Roxborough and I became a full-time mechanic. And then I got divorced. And then I just became a full-time musician.
Well, there you go. But did you have a specialty? Did you work more on diesels?
More on diesels.
Yeah.
A lot of tractors.
So this all came in handy with the tour bus.
Oh yeah,
It did.
I mean and the problem with a bus is when they quit beside the road, it's like a single wide trailer. You can't just push it off. I mean, it's there, and so it's come in handy. But sometimes you ain't got quite everything you need to fix it at the time.
Yeah.
And,
but you can't have a mechanic telling you need something that you don't.
Yeah, it does pay off to have that knowledge.
Yeah.
And it pays to keep your tools. When we got out of business, I kept my tools. I'm sure glad I am because I'm still using them.
Yeah. Well, now, when did you make that decision? Okay, mechanic work behind. I think we can make it as a band, and we're going out on the road, and this is it.
Like I was saying, I won't go too deep into it, but when I went through my divorce, I'm a dad too, and I was like, so I told Chris, I said, we're kind of at a turning point here. I said, because when I'm home, I need to spend as much time with my youngin' as I can. Sure. If I got a job, I can't do that. And I said, I feel like the Lord's blessed us enough that we'll be all right, to do this, to go ahead and do it. If we're going to do it, now's the time. And Chris is an overthinker about everything. So he's like, well, I don't know, man. What if we fade out? What if people don't like us? And I said, well, people already don't like us. I said, but maybe we'll be all right. And so far this is our third year, Chris?
Yeah, third year just doing music.
Well, speaking of divorces, you've got a song on the album that I thought was really good and just, boy, hit you right in the heart. Love Slips Away.
Man, I tell you this story on that. Ronnie Reno, one of my favorite people, Ronnie Reno came to us and he said, would y'all like to hear a demo? So he played it. Well, as soon as he cut it on, it was Merle. And I'm like, man, this is Merle. Where's this song been? He said, well, Merle and I wrote this, and we were going to get Lefty Frizzell to cut it. And Lefty got out of the studio that day, and it didn't happen. He passed away before we cut it. So Merle cut the demo. He said, and it's never been released. If y'all want to do it. And we jumped all over it because it sounds like a Lefty song.
Yes, it does.
And it was right down our alley, so we jumped on it. We were proud to do it, and I appreciate Mr. Ronnie bringing it to the table.
I think Lefty's smiling from heaven.
Well,
on this
thank
one.
you, sir.
Let's listen to Love Slips Away from the Lonely Street album by the Malpass Brothers.
Love slips away, sometimes too soon. Before you know it, she has gone away. Love slips away, sometimes before you realize the one you love has slipped away from you. today. Love slips away sometimes before you realize the one you love has slipped away from you. Time has a way of changing. Tomorrow's never quite like today. Love slips away sometimes before you realize the one you love has slipped away from you. The one you love has slipped away from you.
Well, that pretty well sums it up, doesn't it?
It does.
Love
That's
slips
straight
away.
ahead. 3 chords and the truth.
Three chords and the truth. That's it. You have another cut on this album that I want to slip right in this because it's kind of the same theme. That Elvis Presley cut.
Yeah.
And you guys recorded Don't Cry Daddy.
You know, Mike Davis wrote this.
Yes.
And I had always been...
For you folks not from North Carolina, that's Mac Davis, not Mike.
Exactly, yeah. He translates for us. As transmits. He's transmitting. When we got ready to do the album, they said, well, we'd like for you to do something a little different, if you want to. Well, I just had in my mind Don't Cry Daddy. It's one of my favorite Elvis songs.
It's a very emotional song.
Well, it is. And I said, man, I can hear a heavy steel guitar. I said, I just hear a lot of emotion, almost eerie emotion. And when we got in the studio, I relayed that to Mike Johnson, who's awesome, one of the best
incredible steel players.
And he just, from the first note when we laid the demo down, he had it. And it was one of my favorite songs, and I wanted to do it and I didn't know if we would do it justice, but I love the song, and I wanted to portray our version of this song, and we were really proud of it.
Well, you nailed it, and I'm not going to say anything about who has the best version. Elvis has his, and you have yours, and they're both unique.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah. Do you enjoy the guitar work on this, Taylor?
Yeah, it was fun. I had my vibrato up.
Yeah, that's something you don't use anymore.
And when we were going to eat, so we were going to record it after lunch, and we were on the way to lunch. Chris said, "What do you think about us record Don't Cry Daddy?" And we had just seen the Elvis movie. I said, "You're obsessed with Elvis right now." I said, "There ain't no need to record that." So I said, "It's already been done. I think we should do it." I said, "Well, I don't think we need to touch it." And then he said, "Well, let's just try it. Just trust me." So I recorded it, and he nailed it. And I told him, I said, "Well, I was wrong. Again, you were right, But he, now I don't regret it at all. I thought it was a great bonus to the record.
Did you note the time that Taylor said that he was
wrong?
Did,
and I was like, that's almost...
Doesn't happen very often, does it?
No, I mean, that's almost like my wife Linda telling me that. So I'm going to write that down and have him sign it.
Yes, put the date, the time, everything.
Yeah.
Well, let's listen to Don't Cry Daddy, Malpass Brothers style.
Today I stumbled from my bed, thunder crashing in my head, my pillow still wet from last night's tears. And as I thought of giving up, a voice inside my coffee cup kept crying out, ringing in my ear. Don't cry, Daddy. Daddy, please don't cry. Daddy, you still got me, little Tommy, Together we'll find a brand new mommy. Daddy, Daddy, please laugh again. Daddy, ride us on your back again. Oh, Daddy, please don't cry. Why are children always first to feel the pain and hurt the worst? It's cruel and somehow it don't seem right. And every time I cry, I know I hurt my little children so. And I wonder, would it be the same tonight? Don't cry, Daddy. Daddy, please don't cry. Daddy, you still got me and little Tommy. Together we'll find a brand new mommy. Daddy, Daddy, please laugh again. Daddy, ride us on your back again. Oh, Daddy, please don't cry. Oh, Daddy, please don't cry. Don't cry.
The Malpass Brothers and Don't Cry Daddy. Oh, man. I'm about to cry right now.
Man, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, Keith. It was and I really like your twist on Malvis.
Yeah, I thought you might enjoy
that. Was cool, Elvis and Malvis.
Yeah,
it's like a new tribe.
That's right.
The Malvis tribe.
Tribe. That's a good way to describe you boys.
That's like a tribe for sure, the Malpinian tribe.
Well, now that you're out on the road full time, are you staying that way, or do you get home much?
Well, we're usually home maybe 3 days a week, 2 or 3 days a week, and I don't know. I don't think we could do the jobs now like we were doing it. It's just really taken off, and a lot of that is due to Larry's Country Diner. I mean, we're doing about 120 dates a year.
Wow.
And we're fine to do 200, but 100 if you're doing traditional country music and working that much, I think that's a great sign that people still want to hear this.
Well, the thing about you guys, I hear a lot of traditional country music from the older artists.
Yes,
you
sir.
guys are new kids doing traditional, and my dream is that draws a lot of the younger folks in to hear this gorgeous music.
Well, that's people lose sight. People say, well, y'all want to make it big. Look, making it big's not on my mind. Keeping this music alive is what's on my mind.
I can tell that, yeah.
And even introducing our songs, traditional country, but there's still that old vibe. That's what we want. We want to keep this style alive. If we make it big, as they say, that's great. And love to have that honor, but keeping this music alive is the deal.
Well, this album, Lonely Street, answered the question for me. Okay, I love to hear him do the old songs, but what about some new stuff? And you've done it with this album.
Well,
original material, and I couldn't turn it off.
Well, man, that means a lot.
And
coming from
not
you.
Just the singing and the songs, but the instrumentation. That's something I don't hear on a lot of the newer music. Is that distinctive sound?
It's so important too.
But you got another song on here that definitely came from a country lady, a legend, Miss Jeannie Seeley.
Oh man,
tell me about We Don't.
Yeah, well, as I go back to the divorce again, it had not been long past that, and me and Jeannie, I always flirt with Miss Jeannie. She's timeless,
Oh, everybody does.
And
I love Jeannie Seeley.
So we're standing there, and she said, she said, well, if you're going through a divorce, I got a song for you.
Tell them about where she played it for
and
you.
I said, all right. So she carried me to her dressing room, sat down at the piano, and she sang it to me. And I was crying, getting choked up.
Wow.
I was crying. She was crying. And she said, if you want to record it, you can. And I said, well, if I can get through it, I will,
Yeah.
And so I did. And so we were running the tracks, and Brandon Lee, I don't know if you know her. She's a great Texas artist.
Yes, I do.
Well, she came in. She said she was there for the session. She was going through a breakup. I said, well, will you go in there and sing the demo with me? She said, yeah. So we sat there and we was watching each other singing. We both got emotional. and we got done, and I told it was Ben Isaacs and Doyle Lawson and Mark Capps. And I said, I don't believe I want nobody else singing. I said, I believe I want to use her. It was the rough draft she did.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want nobody else to do it. I said, I'm going to work around that. And it turned out great.
Boy, it's a tearjerker.
Yes, it is. If you don't have a big, tall boy beside you, you'll need it after
You
this.
ain't lying.
Yeah.
Let's listen and cry along with We Don't, the Malpass Brothers.
We just go before the judge next Monday morning. There'll be nothing to it. Both our lawyers have agreed. Our marriage tried and tested will end uncontested. We'll just walk away, we'll be free. Could we kneel back at that altar? Would our voices falter as we try to tell God to change our minds? When we vow to love forever, we didn't know we were lying at the time. Would we just try to tell him all the things we said we would, we won't? Do you think that we could go back to where we said I do? Say we don't.
I would always love and always honor you, but I could never be quite what you wanted me to be. I love you more today than when I married you. For this reason, with my best, I set you free. Could we kneel back at that altar? But
From the album Lonely Street, the Malpass Brothers, and a song written by country queen Jeannie Seeley.
That's right.
She's going to kill me for saying that. It's called We Don't. Just one of the many jewels on this album. I tell you, you guys have got it here. I just, man, I love this album.
Well, thank you. And I mean, that means a lot coming from you. You're a hero to us. We grew up listening to you, and I mean, that means a lot, and I appreciate you doing
I'm
this.
really feeling old. Who were some of the folks that you got to finally meet?
Well, we spent quite a bit of time around Don Helms, who played with Hank and everybody. Worked with him a couple of years, and of course we met Loretta a couple of times. One of my coolest memories was meeting Charlie Leuven, and Charlie knew I was writing songs, and he told me that day, he said, I got a little tape recorder that you need to keep these songs around with you. Well, he went out to his car and brought me that tape. He said, take that so you can put your ideas down.
Really?
He said, I got the directions somewhere to how to use it, and I'll mail it to you. Give me your address. And I thought, a few days later, he mailed it to me.
High-tech stuff. Huh?
And there is a little tape in there of him singing, trying to sing parts. He's learning his parts at like a shape note singing thing. You can tell it's at a church, and it's him. And I never used it because of that.
Yeah.
That's a treasure. But Charlie, and then George Jones, Merle, Bobby Bear. We got to meet so many of the great ones.
Yeah.
We worked with Merle 7 years, and that was
that was a door opener for sure.
Oh man.
Yeah.
One thing really cool about Merle, I remember Chris I was probably 10, so you were 14.
Yeah.
Went to the Alabama Theater to see him. Got all the way down to the Alabama Theater, walked up to the door. The lady said, show's canceled.
Oh, no.
Well, Christopher went crying.
Oh.
He said, we ain't never going to get to see him. He's going to be gone. He's going to be gone before I ever get to see him. You know, and then 8 years later, we were open for him.
For 7 years straight, and on Hag Records. I mean, it was a...
Well, tell me exactly how that came about. He just heard you guys?
Well, we opened for him in Spindale, North Carolina at a college.
Uh-huh.
I didn't see him that night, but Norm and Fuzzy, a lot of the older guys saw us, and they said, Merle, you need to see these guys. So Frank Mull came to me after we opened. He said, I'm Frank Mull. He said, Merle wants to meet y'all tomorrow night. We're in Raleigh. I said, he don't want to meet us. I was working, and I told my boss, I said, look, I know I'm supposed to work tomorrow. I said, but Merle Haggard said, well, you better go. I said, he ain't. The whole way down there I'm driving, he don't want to meet us. Well, sure enough, we got there. They said, Merle wants to meet you. We went on the bus.
Oh, my goodness.
Merle goes, I heard you open my show. The guys told me. He said, they said you do an Ernest Tubb song. I said, yes, sir. He said, what is it? I said, Dear Judge. He said, hold it a minute. We went back and brought his little Rose parlor guitar and his Tough Dog. And he handed me the parlor guitar, and he said, sing it.
Oh, the pressure is on.
I was scared to death. Well, I sang Dear Judge. He said, do another one. Well, we wound up playing about 20 or 30 minutes. And when he got done, he said, come back on the bus after the show. So I did. This was in September of 2007. He said, I want you to come to the ranch in November. So I went out there in November, and I went back again in December. In January of 2008, he said, I want you to start touring and opening the shows. Well, he said, you remind me of me, because he knew I was in the same stuff. Well, Taylor hadn't graduated yet, so Merle called Mama on the phone and asked her, could he come out in June? And my mom said, yes. She's scared to death. He said, Miss Malpass, this is Merle Haggard. Can Tater, he called him Tater, Tater come out on the road? And so in June, when he graduated, he went out, and we spent 7 years with him. He was like a father.
So did you ride on his bus?
We had the band bus, and some nights I'd ride with Merle, and some nights I'd ride on the band bus, because if we went over there, he'd be listening to Tom T. Hall.
Yeah, he'd
stay up all night listening to Lefty, Tom T., whatever he wanted to listen to, watching Andy Griffith. And he'd say, right over here. And so I'd sit back there with him. Of course, I didn't get no sleep. I felt rough the next day.
He'd come, I knew what would happen. It happened to me a couple times, you know. You get on that bus, and then it get to move, you still be in your show clothes.
Yeah, I'd still be in my friend's outfit.
We got up one morning. I'd been at the hotel they had stopped at Denny's and everything. He loved Denny's. We got to the hotel. I was on the band bus. I went on in the hotel, went to bed. About 2 o'clock that afternoon, I heard a knock on the door, and I went, and it was Chris. That hair was all messed up. He was wearing a friend suit. He said, I got stuck on Merle's bus last night. We was listening to Jimmy Rogers. And he said, we stopped at Denny's and a Walmart.
Oh, me dressed in that friend, still going.
And we were at a casino. Yeah. Christopher had to walk through that casino.
Well, but you wouldn't take $1 million for that experience.
I'd do it again in a second.
Yeah.
Cause he was my hero.
Well, I tell you what, let's play another song, and this is your single.
Yes, sir.
Sleep When the Party's Over. I guess that's that Merle Haggard story leads right into it.
Well, you know, that's the daggone truth. When we wrote this song, I wrote it with Taylor Dunn and Sean Camp, and I said, man, it's so easy to write sad songs. I said, I'd like to write a sort of a honky-tonk Lefty Frizzell kind of feeling song where it kind of make you dance. Mm-hmm. And this one came out really quick, Sleep When the Party's Over, and when we recorded it, they gave it that Lefty vibe, coffee blues vibe, cigarette and coffee blues, and that, of course, he was a huge influence to us, so it's just a straight old dancing honky-tonk.
Oh, well, let's listen to it. You did a good job on it. We're going to sleep when the party's over and not 1 minute until. Here's from Lonely Street, the Malpass Brothers.
We can sleep when the party's over. Keep rocking while the feeling's good. Anybody else in our dancing shoes would do the same thing if they could. So lay your little head on my shoulder. Don't you dare close those big brown eyes. We can sleep when the party's over, when the day becomes late last night. Hey, life's too short, it goes by too fast. I gotta live it up right now. Everybody else is raising up their shades. We'll be pulling ours down. So lay your little head on my shoulder. Don't you dare close those big brown eyes. We can sleep when the party's over, when the day becomes late last night. When the party's over, 'cause I ain't one bit tired. Tell the boss if he calls in the morning, I don't care if I do get fired. I might do a little too much drinking, might get a little bit too high, but I can sleep when the party's over, when the day becomes late last night. Oh, life's too short, by too fast, gotta live it up right now. When everybody else is raising up their shout, we'll be pulling ours down. So lay your little head on my shoulder. Don't you dare close them big brown eyes. We can sleep when the party's over, when the day becomes late last night. We can sleep when the party's over, when the day becomes late last night.
Gonna Sleep When the Party's Over, the first single from the album Lonely Street by the Malpass Brothers. Listen, you got to get this album. If you're a fan of real country music, or you don't know anything about old-time classic country music, you need to get this album so you can learn.
Well, thank you.
It's a textbook.
Thank you, sir.
And how to sing a country song and play a country instrument. I bet there will be, Taylor, you'll love this. I bet there'll be little Taylors out there listening to this trying to copy your licks.
Oh, man.
Like you used to do with Lee.
That sounds scary. I don't know if we need any little Taylors.
Well, as long as they don't, take after him. You guys.
Yeah, they need to find a better hero.
You guys, one of the things I love about your stage performance is you do comedy very naturally. I guess that's the best way to describe it. It's real.
We're naturally stupid.
Yeah.
That's all I tell folks. It comes so easy.
And Taylor is one of the best straight comedians I have ever heard. He can tell you something, and you don't know whether he's kidding or not.
Well, and it's funny because when we're on stage, we don't make up. I mean, you've got jokes that you'll tell a lot, but he always changes them up, so that makes it. I love that,
But that's what I'm talking about. Your comedy is so off the cuff, yet so natural. I never feel like you're stretching it. You're. Has that been that way all your lives growing up?
Somewhat, and I grew up with a guy who's working with us now. His name's Al Cotter. He did a comedy character called Cousin Brossy, which was like Rod Bradsfield kind of stuff. So I grew up kind of watching country comedy from him, which nobody does that now. And a lot of it is real stories of real people, and you just that you've seen, and you just sort of spruce it up a little bit, and that's kind of what Taylor's. We just tell sometimes we're telling stuff, and it happened.
Yeah,
like we had a lady cancel tickets to see us because she heard we wear nudie suits. This is the truth.
Yeah, she thought we were nudists.
And they told the lady, said, "Ma'am, do you know what a nudie suit is?" She said, "Oh yes, I've been to New Orleans. I know very well."
Very well.
And so that stuff, it's funny and it's true.
Yeah,
it's just the truth.
You can't make it up.
You can't. You can't make it up.
Being a brother act, now I've known a lot of brother acts through the years. We mentioned the Louvin brothers, Jim and Jesse. I mean, the list goes on. And there are tense times. Do you guys ever really disagree that much, or do you pretty well go along with each other?
What do you think, Tater? I'm going to let him answer so I can figure out if I want to argue with him.
We've went through phases in life that we disagreed on a lot of things. But at the end of the day, he's my best buddy.
Yeah.
We ain't got nobody else.
Yeah.
And I don't like that many people. But we understand each other, and a lot of time I'm on stage, I'll know what he's going to do next, and we don't have a set list, but I'll know what he's thinking.
Yeah, and even with singing, that. And I heard Charlie Louvin. That is true. A lot of times I'll know where he's going to go with something, and I guess it's just being the brothers,
Yeah.
You get to the end of the day, when you're in it like we are, I know what he's thinking. He's going through the same burdens I'm going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just knowing you got somebody there with you that understands.
And if you can ever get to the stage,
it's
all worth it then.
It's all worth it.
It goes by quick, though.
Paying for the dream.
Paying for the dream.
As the song we played earlier says. But so you never get any knockdown drag.
Oh well, now
when you're making the big money, we're gonna all be watching and see what happens.
Now, if you want to know,
if you pull up in separate buses, we're gonna know.
Well, the worst argument we ever got in was one night we had come in. It was about 2:00 in the morning. I do most of the driving. Now we got to.
Now we're going to argue. Here we go. Here we go.
You don't have a driver?
Well, we do now.
Oh, okay.
Thank the Lord. We just don't have a bus yet. So we pulled into a hotel, and I was asleep, and I felt the bus stop, and I heard them up there. I looked out the bus. I could see their heads. That's all I could see was their shadows. I said, "What's going on?" So I walked up there. Chris said, I just bumped the wall. I just bumped it.
It'll buff out.
He said, he's standing there, I'm looking out the window, and Jake, the bass player, he's standing there in the window. It'll buff out. Ain't no need to get off. It'll buff out. Well, I walked around there. When I did, that bay door was jacked around. I come around there, I said, "You doggone right, it'll buff out." Boy, and I didn't stop And I knew I knew, just shut up. But I kept on from the spot where we wrecked to the time I went to the hotel room, which was like an hour. I never stopped. I just fussed and fussed and fussed. The woman at the hotel thought I was crazy.
Oh, and she thought he was, and then after I told her, she knew he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I bet that woman behind the counter could drive better than you do.
It'll buff out.
It'll buff out, and that's the truth. I said, it'll buff out.
Yeah. Well, I want to play one more song, and first time I listened to the album, this song blew me away because of the harmony. We've talked about the Louvin brothers, and it got a little spooky because, I mean, it was like Ira was hitting the high notes.
Well, thank you.
Out of sight and out of mind.
We wrote this one, and when I wrote it said I'd like to write a Louvin-style song, and Taylor really nailed it.
He did.
Harmony, it was perfect.
So, folks, especially on this one, turn the volume up. You want to hear this. Out of sight, out of mind from the album Lonely Street, the Malpass Brothers.
You put me out of sight and out of mind. We used to walk together hand in hand. We always talked about our future plans. But someone turned your head and caught your eye. Now you got me out of sight and out of mind. Out of sight, I can't see your face at all. Out of mind, I'm climbing up the wall. All alone, I cry my brown eyes blind. Since you put me out of sight and out of mind. From where you stand, you can't see why I'm blue. With you not here, I still can't face the truth. You've moved on and left me far behind. You put me out of sight and out of mind. Out of sight, I can't see your face at all. Out of mind, I'm climbing up the wall. All alone, I cry my brown eyes blind. Since you put me out of sight and out of mind. Since you put me out of sight and out of mind.
You know, you have to pay a lot of money to get somebody to sing harmony like that, Chris. I just want you to know that.
I know. I was thinking about that story Charlie Louvin told when him and Ira got in a fight, and Ira said he was leaving. He was going to fly home. And Jimmy Dickens said, I can get you Roger Miller for $25 a day, Charlie. And Ira said, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. He changed just like that quick.
Taylor, you did a great job on that.
He really did, man.
I appreciate
But
it.
folks, this whole album is just filled with country music jewels. Now, if you're looking for a stone cold country album, move on down the rack. This one's not for you. But if you want something from the heart that is real, pick up a copy of Lonely Street. And first single, Sleep When the Party's Over, and there's several other songs on the album we haven't played, but just take your choice. Any one of them's a jewel. Guys, thanks so much for talking to me.
Hey, I want to thank you, man. You're a hero and a treasure to country music.
Well, that's true, but...
You really are. You're one of my favorite people.
You should be Mr.
I have been very blessed. And I never forget that.
It is all deserved, and I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I mean it.
Chris and Taylor Malpass, none like them. You can search the world over. You won't find another duo like this. I've enjoyed talking to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Key. We've enjoyed it too.